So we're very firm believers in investing in ourselves, but in a way that we generate that revenue stream, okay? We have done a number of other redevelopment projects. There's another property we did, and there's an old schoolhouse in the middle of our main street, our main drag, that had been empty for like 10 years, all boarded up. It was owned by Carl McIntyre, who I don't know if many of you know, but Carl McIntyre owned it. Part of his, his vast, for a while there, it was a really incredible fortune he had. But his day had passed, and this was in horrible disrepair. Was boarded up in the middle of our downtown. Okay, so it's this big old schoolhouse. It was the first schoolhouse in Collingswood with indoor plumbing. Okay, so it's great history with the place. It looks beautiful out on the main drag, but it's all boarded up. There's nobody in it. And for us, it was, you're not going to get more stuff going on the avenue when sitting in the middle of it is this boarded up big old house that breaks up the whole walk, breaks up everything. So we started, actually we did end up in a condemnation with that. We negotiated, I had like 3 deals worked out, all ready to go. Reverend McIntyre killed the deals. He would not sell it. So we moved on a condemnation. We moved to take it, which I always kid is one of several reasons why I will not get through the pearly gates, because Carl McIntyre's waiting for me up there, okay? I know when I get there he's going to be like, oh yeah, Mahaly, I remember that. But we started the condemnation on that, and when the story ran that we were doing this, okay, I got 2 calls right away. One was a guy that wanted to buy it from us, rip it down, and make it a CVS, okay? And I told them, it's really not what we're looking for, okay? And the other call was from Kitchen and Associates, okay? Who's an architectural firm, planning firm. They were in Westmont at the time. They were at the time were owned by Ben and Beth Kitchen, the Kitchens. Beth wanted their offices in this building, okay? So we started a negotiation with them, and we did a redevelopment agreement with them where we structured it, where we actually put up about $2 million. We financed the renovations and improvements to the building, and we had a lease payment from them coming back to us that covered our debt service, okay? So we're the developer that's not, and made them the redeveloper. So we had them control the construction, because the deal we struck was you're going to lease this and you've got an option to buy for what our debt is, whatever our remaining debt is. They had like a 10-year period, they could buy it. So we spent $2 million on that building. You can move in, you can lease, begin to use it, and your lease payments are getting applied to that, okay, knocking that down. And then you can buy it for what remains. So it gave them the incentive to control that number, okay, because it lowered their eventual purchase price. And we got 100 people working, in the middle of our, little downtown. So that project was one where it really wasn't costing us anything. Our revenue was offsetting what our number was. And the ripple effect of that, though, was huge, because that, as well as other things like heavy marketing, restaurant conferences to try to pull restaurants in, that's when things began to move on our avenue, okay? Because now there was life, there was commerce, there were people there coming to work and leaving after work. And they were looking to go, pick something up on the way home after dinner, meet the wife coming in off the speed line after work from Philly, going to grab a bite to eat before they leave. It began to generate that foot traffic, okay? But it only came about because, we went and did it. We were very aggressive and went and did the project in a way that didn't hurt our municipal budget, okay? And worked for the community. So we also did real hard advertising. Like many of you know, we have a pretty awesome restaurant scene right now. We have some fabulous restaurants. Some Hearthside that's just opened. This place Porch and Proper. Hearthside is Zagat's. Beginning of this year, Zagat's did a feature on the best new restaurant in 10 cities in America. Philadelphia's best new restaurant was Hearthside in Collingswood. It takes months to get a reservation. They're killing it. There's a place, Porch and Proper, that just opened. That's a former Stephen Starr chef that's come in. And the other restaurants that we have in town, Sapori, Nunzio. Nunzio had a place in Monte Carlo Living Room in Philly. Like, we've got great restaurateurs that have come because of a combination of the early days when we began this. We worked them. Like, in the early days, we wanted to try and get restaurants in. I went, a couple places, I went to their an existing restaurant once a week, okay? And bugged them and talked to them and said, you really should be looking to come. Those early days, one in particular, I remember, it was like, you're too close to Camden. Like, it's never gonna work, you're too close to Camden. So we worked them really hard to get, like, this guy to open another location and worked on him. While at the same time, we were doing generic advertising and running these. We did an economic development conference to show developers, all the different places in town that could use some work. We did a restaurant conference to tell them, people that were interested in opening a restaurant, owned a restaurant, that bring them in and sit them down and say, here's the kind of things we'll do for you, we'll incentivize. The one guy that we're too close to Camden, we sealed the deal with him because we built, he's on a side street on a corner, and we built a little bump out so that he could expand and have some outdoor dining. And what we did with him was we leased that to him for a 10-year period, and in that 10 years we recovered the cost of what it cost us to build that out, okay? So, like, we just relentless one-on-one, but also kind of, 20,000 feet kind of generic image advertising and pushing the people to get them in. So that's our downtown, and our downtown is doing really well. In the last few years, we've done, there's this lumberyard project that we did in the middle of our town that is an old lumberyard that we developed. The borough took the lead actually in that and redeveloping that. I think the only thing we did wrong on that one was we spent too much time having meetings with people to be transparent. Because it took, we spent a couple years and we had 3 buildings. One building, 50 condos, sold out in 6 months. And then the second one started to get drugged down and we hit the recession, okay? So we worked through the recession, the project has been completed, it's changed a little bit, but we now have like a 100-unit apartment complex. It is luxury, it's the highest rents in town, on Haddon Avenue, okay? And then we have 75 condo units that are also on Haddon Avenue. Those folks there are all oriented to live on that avenue. They don't have as many cars. They make use of the speed line. We had, up until just a couple months ago, we had a zip car located there. And we had 2 zip cars because they were making a lot of use of it because people were just going without having a car.